This is a very bad sign for things to come. We could be looking at a Magnus Carlsen masterclass.
Yeah, that was an uncharacteristic fast start for Magnus. Just getting his type of position, that was a sign of homework, home cooking. Maybe helped out by his seconds there. Great choice of opening, it turned out in the end. And at least Alireza is sticking true to his guns. Another Queen's Gambit declined and a pawn sacrifice levy. A very famous, trendy line here.
Yeah, you don't take the next pawn. The knight backed up. I know it looks shocking why Magnus wouldn't capture the knight on c3. It's a little bit too dangerous. This is known as the Vienna. This is actually a different Vienna completely, but it is known as the Vienna. White gets a lot of attacking chances here. Knight into the middle, rook up, rook to the right side. I'm actually kind of stunned at the opening choice because White gets huge attacking chances here, and this is exactly what Firouzja is good at. So what do you think Magnus has cooked up?
Yeah, it must be something deeper. Like, this is just where it begins. Like, the players will have predicted this type of pawn sacrifice, especially Magnus, who chose this variation. Bishop to g5 given a question mark. That looks harsh. Maybe a different order would have been better. But there we see Magnus looking down. He's just in recall mode, trying to remember what to do next. He doesn't tend to like these, so it is surprising. He's not greedy in the openings, Magnus. He doesn't like accepting gambits and going on the defensive. So we will see. I like the opening choice from White.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great line. I mean, there are many memes on the internet about who the best players in the world are. You know, you got Magnus, you got this Magnus, that Magnus. Australian mustache Magnus is certainly a new one. You think he's thinking crikey right now?
Crikey. Put some prawns on the Barbie.
Yeah, like knight e5. This is not a pleasant game. I think the only weakness you could ever conjure up in the game of Magnus is belligerent attack on the king. Nobody likes defending, not even the best player in the world. His position is not very pleasant to play with black.
Exactly. Even if you fend off the first wave of attack, even if you kind of just bring your knight and plant it in the center, how are you capitalizing on your extra pawn with black? How are you breaking out? He actually does try to trade off several minor pieces, maybe even offering a pawn back at some point. But yeah, this is not going to be easy for Magnus at all. He has burned a bit of time. Good start for Alireza.
But knight e5 is a very timely move. The bishops now see each other. And if you take the bishop, the knight will come back likely to take. I doubt he would take with the queen. That would allow too much of an initiative. Also, I'm not going to calculate right now. There might be knight takes c3 as well. That also could work. Zwischenzug, an in-between move. So Firouzja has decisions to make because if you trade too many pieces, you're not checkmating anybody. Actually, this game is very high stakes if you think about it. He's down a pawn. If he doesn't mate Magnus, he will lose the endgame and be down 2-0.
That's true. That is true. Magnus is at least suffering for something with the material advantage. Yeah, maybe that's why the question mark appeared, Levy, a few moves ago with bishop g5. Maybe White should have been keeping that up his sleeve for later, swinging the rook across first, another idea you mentioned. Now he would love to do this, just no time.
I actually think that's the exact reason you delay the moving of the bishop, because black has this option to jump into the middle, and also he had brought his dark squared bishop back. And now you almost wish you had never made that move in the first place. You almost want to return back to d2, for example, but that just gives your opponent a lot of time. Yeah, Firouzja deep in the tank here, trying to figure out just how much he wants to trade, if at all.
Yeah, difficult decision. He does not look too happy right now. I think he knows the move order's gone wrong. I did mention it yesterday, but Alireza tends to avoid the Queen's Gambit declined with White, at least historically in his career. So maybe Magnus going for this line is just banking on a lack of experience in the exact move orders. Stylistically, it suits Firouzja's style, but the move order there proving very important.
Can I ask a question? How do you avoid the Queen's Gambit declined with White? Like, you play d4. Do you only play d4 against certain people? Do you play something else?
Yeah, I mean, mainline d4's, Firouzja's mainly been e4 most of his career, and then lots of reties and flank openings kind of transitioned into d4 now. But you can go into Queen's Gambit declined, but kind of force black to play the exchange variation if they want a specific move order, or go into the Nimzo. By starting with knight f3, you tend to end up in lines like this. And okay, some piece exchanges, Levy. What do you make of this?
Yeah, the bishop taking in the center and retreating, giving Magnus the bishop pair more imbalance in the position now. Black has traditional wisdom, the advantage, but White has a lot of space in the center. White also has this, it's not really a Catalan bishop, but it's a bishop on the diagonal of the Catalan. It's going to be difficult for Black to develop, but I don't know if you're going to checkmate anybody now with the bishop on that diagonal.
True, without a dark squared bishop as well, Black can happily, healthily put a pawn on g6, drop back his bishop on the dark squares, cover everything. The problem piece is the bishop on c8. Okay, it definitely is a matter of time. Alireza probably has to speed up both on board and clock, try to create some threats before it's too late. And Okay, a change in pawn structure. Magnus is now pawn hunting again.
Yeah, well, he suddenly has become the aggressor. The pawn structure is basically symmetrical, except black has an extra pawn, which right now, you could just move up to c6, make a nice little spike. The light-squared bishop can't jump in. The knight can't jump in. You would be weakening the d6 square, though, the square right next to it. You got to be really careful pushing your pawns. Probably the player that is most careful in the world pushing his pawns is Magnus. He is extremely reluctant to move any pawns. And this might be a very good moment. You might look for activity instead. But it's still not that simple to make a move with black. Like, rook b8 is ugly. Okay, he decides to get things done with his queen. And now will Firouzja just simply defend the pawn? He does. And Magnus sacrifices his b-pawn.
Ooh, big call there from Magnus Carlsen. It is hanging. Yes, he'll get a hit on that bishop. He'll move his rook to b8. But the bishop will drop back. What is the upside to that? Okay, I think we'll find out now. He has to take it before it runs away. There we go. Bishop takes b7 back to level material.
Maybe now rook d1?
Oh, that is clever. Zwischenzug, as you mentioned earlier.
But I'm trying to figure out rook d8, and I don't quite get it. I like the last move that he played. Okay, he just retreats. But there, maybe he had ideas to move the f-pawn 2 squares in the long run. That would have been quite nice. He hit Magnus's bishop a couple moves ago and sent it to the right side of the board on h6, from where it does control very useful squares. But unless you're stupid, you're not going to move to them. And then you're kind of wondering, like, is that bishop good or bad?
Yeah, it's kind of hitting thin air. Maybe at some point it will have to step back, maybe g6, and the bishop will go round again to tickle this far extended pawn. But for now, Magnus, I am surprised. I mentioned he's not too materialistic, especially with pawns, but I'm surprised he gave back b7 so quickly, so willingly. And Alireza looks like he's fine now, but again, the clock. I think this is going to be a trend. He's a minute down. He's the one who's maybe facing the long-term threats of the bishop pair. g6, there we go. Making use of the fact knight e4 is not possible while the black queen hits e5. Hard to find a plan for white now.
Yeah, absolutely. When in doubt, just move the h-pawn. But this is not a position in which you have that luxury. The pawn going to h5 doesn't actually do anything as Magnus chops down a rook. Alireza is thinking, because the autopilot move is to take with the rook, but there were other options. Now he has to just go back. I don't like this, David. I don't like this. White is suddenly on the defensive.
White is very stuck. Like, where's the bishop go? Probably nowhere. The knight can't use e4 while e5 is hanging. The queen and the rook tied down. Process of elimination. I'm struggling to find a move, as you say. Like, queenside pawns are stuck and vulnerable. Almost zugzwang.
Yeah, literally. King g1, king g2 for the rest of the game. If you try to move the b-pawn to protect it and enable the queen to move, you hang your knight. If you move the a-pawn, that's fine, but you still can't move the b-pawn. If you move the queen, you might lose the pawn in the center, or the pawn on b2. The pawn in the center is hanging.
Wow, h6 is hanging, but then b2 will fall. Can he take it, Magnus? Can he get greedy here and now? I was going to say, if white had done nothing, it would have been typical of Magnus to play a5, a4, a3, destabilize. But now, calculation mode, to take or not to take.
Now, if white does get to play b3, wow, he just plays a5 anyway. You golf with Magnus, that's what happens. I mean, you read his mind.
I've watched way too many games where he just likes to push these flank pawns. Like you said, he's very careful about pushing in the center. But, okay, is it time now? Any difference?
It's interesting, Firouzja liked the rook on that square better than the queen, so the queen can go do more stuff. Why is Magnus not playing king h7? Ah, because then you can play knight e4.
Oh, nice point. Let's just very quickly show it. King h7 would threaten to take this pawn in the center, but knight to e4, as Levy says there. Queen takes pawn. There will be a nasty knight check, discovered attack. And the queen would drop off next move.
And it's very important the pawn on h4 is protecting the knight, otherwise the black queen would take it. So the king on that square is more vulnerable. That's why he's not rushing. Did he go king f8?
King f8, mysterious, and then king h2.
Yeah, obviously.
Status quo.
What does everybody not understand, huh?
Well, let's catch up with the game. This is the live position, bishop to g2 now. Weird maneuvering.
f4 for white is the idea, surely.
That's committal. It does block out the black bishop on g7, which I like, but the white king will never be safe.
And then maybe g4 and g5, and then you get the knight to f6. That, in a scramble, that looks very scary. But in a format with 3 minutes on the clock, not so much.
Yeah, I think he's wondering now, Magnus, before the chance disappears, whether he takes this pawn. It will come at the cost of h6, but then he drops back. He attacks the white queen instead.
I mean, where do you move this queen? This is so difficult to decide. c2, c1, e3, e1, like every move is... Okay, he goes to e1.
Passive, but at least it holds e5.
Yep. That's very important.
He's I would say doing well here, Firouzja, in terms of how bad it possibly could have become. He's at least holding on to everything. King G8, Magnus is running out of ideas.
King G1, wow. Okay, no, Alireza keeps trying to make improving moves, although, as you said, very committal. This is very committal. Committal in chess just meaning you don't have to do that right now, and you can't take it back. Pawns don't go backwards.
If he gets mated, we'll say that it was a long-term mistake.
Queen A7. Now I'm looking at infiltration ideas.
Queen A7, you could, rook C2, nice move.
Oh, the queen is kind of stuck, yeah?
Black's queen is running out of squares, an isolated pawn suddenly for Magnus.
And queen d4 takes 92, maybe.
Queen d4 would be a Magnus type of move here, but is it enough? White suddenly got everything protected. He's done a great job here of timing it, f4, to block out the black bishop, and knight e4 now, the best minor piece by a mile.
Oh, this is spiraling very quickly for black. Now he's somehow running out of moves.
Fantastic news for Alireza.
He's shaking his head there, Magnus.
Oh,
that's a great move, and he's hitting c7 with that move.
Oh, great move. He's trying to bully black into taking the queens off on Alireza's terms here. At some point, the queens will have to be removed. There we go.
It's a fork.
It's a double attack. The pawns are hit.
And you can't take his rook c8, and that would be game over.
That would have been a deadly pin. Now he can take a timeout, play a move like b3, or does he just continue jumping in with his knight maybe to d6?
Alireza has to win this game. Magnus loses on time.
What happened there? Magnus froze. Magnus panicked. 1-1.